Summing up the news and stories that define the final chapter of the century. And now, here is John Webster on News Radio WTAM 1100.
1999 seemed to me to be a bit longer than usual, but I checked and found it had the same number of days. It's just that we counted down and dragged from this year just about every millennium moment we could. It made for a busy year of news stories for us here at News Radio WTAM 1100. A blazing hot summer, and a year that kicked off with a snowstorm just a day after New Year's.
The Weather Watch 3 forecast. Here's Eileen McShay.
Watch out for dangerously cold temperatures today. We are under a wind chill advisory. Look for wind chills well below zero. Very, very cold temperatures, possibly another inch of snow and windy conditions, and highs only reaching 20. By tonight, a few flurries, but still very cold with lows reaching near 5.
Currently 9 degrees at your official weather station, but with the wind, it feels like 28 below.
Operation Storm Watch is in effect. Accurate, in-depth, severe weather coverage continues right now.
It is unusual to have so many school closings on a day with no new snow, but ice is a big problem for districts across Northeast Ohio.
It's simple chemistry. At a certain point, 20 degrees, salt will no longer melt ice. Add in the bitter wind chills we have, and even chemical additives don't cut it. So most school parking lots are covered with ice, inches thick in some areas.
I was told that even our police cruisers are sliding on the ice, that it's almost like an ice rink in some of the lots.
Barbara Grano is with Lakeland Community College. When will schools reopen? Ask Mother Nature.
Has the ice that's closed schools caused problems at Hopkins Airport? We have team coverage from our David Kelly, who is there.
People are heeding the early arrival warnings this morning. This place is packed already. Curbside check-in may be the way to go. There's a lot of folks in the ticket lines. There doesn't appear to be a lot of cancellations this morning. I've only seen about 6 on the various airline boards. Continental, the major airline out of Hopkins, has canceled flights to several of its smaller destinations, such as Columbus, Erie, Pennsylvania, and Hartford, Connecticut.
It was very cold a lot this year, but then came summer and a heat wave that sent temperatures into the 90s. No rain either. People took to the parks to find relief.
The front leg is probably the best thing to do.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
and the sprinkler in the backyard.
Up here from Columbus, and it's been in the high 90s all week.
Because it's too hot. It's really hot. Yeah. We don't have a pool at our house, so putting ice on my head. Yeah, bro, you didn't do that. Trying to stay indoors with air conditioning. Yeah, having water fights, water balloon fights.
And there was politics aplenty. This last year of the 20th century saw George Voinovich, former Cleveland mayor, governor of Ohio, become junior senator from Ohio.
Ohio's new junior senator is officially in office. He's former governor, now Senator George Voinovich. He was happy to take the oath today.
It was my show, and I was articulating my vision for what I wanted to happen in Ohio. And today, you notice that we didn't even have to repeat the words. All we had to say was 2 words, I do.
But the political surprise of the year in Cuyahoga County saw another veteran politician get his walking papers. John Coyne's long reign as the colorful mayor of Brooklyn was ended by the voters.
Next for me, retirement.
Brooklyn Mayor John Coyne will go down in history as the nation's longest-serving mayor. But after 52 years in office, Coyne was defeated Tuesday by 48-year-old Ken Patton.
Mayor Coyne's done the job for 52 years. He's done it well. We have very good services in Brooklyn. I want to carry the ball from here for the citizens of Brooklyn.
If you do the math, Patton was born 4 years after Coyne first became mayor.
No other mayor in the United States has held the position as long as the 82-year-old incumbent. So what's next for John Coyne?
Next for me, retirement. Taking it easy and enjoying life. I enjoy life as mayor too, but it's one of those things. The government, the people have spoken, and I concur whatever they say.
John Coyne, who once ruled the local Democratic Party from his office at the Brooklyn City Hall. But I think his honor is most proud of his pioneering law requiring seat belts in Brooklyn, first in the nation. And in the last year, his honor made the national wires with a law limiting cell phone use in his community. John Coyne. He'll probably always be his honor to us.
1, 2, some gin and juice, but I really don't wanna be a buzz like I had last week.
1999 saw its share of crime. When we continue, some of the more sensational cases handled by Cleveland area homicide bureaus.
1999, the year in review. Once again, John Webster on News Radio WTAM 1100.
1999 in Cleveland was not short on crime. In June, a woman working late in the bond court office building downtown was found brutally murdered.
38-year-old Susan Locke died shortly after 1:30 this morning from the severe head injury she suffered in that beating. Cleveland police have interviewed her fellow office workers. They've looked at visitors' logs and now surveillance videotapes. Anything that might point them in the direction of who's responsible for this brutal murder. The only concrete evidence police have right now is the bat that was used in the assault, and they're hoping if they can establish the time of the attack, it may help in identifying a suspect.
If it could happen to Susan Locke, it could happen to anyone. But Cleveland office workers are pointing the finger at poor security.
Oh, I definitely think there should be security, and I think there should be locked doors. Now, I don't know if the person might be an employee that has access that no one would even think about.
I blame it all on the security and, the overall operation of the, facility.
Security workers were staffing the bond court office building during Locke's bloody attack.
Victor Washington of Cleveland was later picked up, and police said he confessed to sneaking into the office building to steal office equipment, came across Susan Locke in her office, and crushed her skull with a bat. But Washington will never stand trial because he died recently in the county jail of apparent natural causes. County Prosecutor William Mason said he's convinced the case is closed.
On June 7th, 1999, at 7:05 p.m., Victor Washington entered the lobby of the Bond Court building and signed the security logbook at the front desk under the name of Michael, M-I-C-H-E-A-L, Jones. He is seen signing in and going up to the 18th floor, covering his face with his arm, and then pushing, on the next picture, the button to go up to the 18th floor. The security camera captures him. Washington was confronted October 14th, 1999, and he confessed to the aggravated murder of Susan Locke and assure everyone, especially downtown office workers, that this crime has been solved. Because of Victor Washington's death, we will never have the opportunity to see him convicted of this brutal crime. However, we will not allow his death to leave lingering questions and fears regarding the solutions of this crime.
And another prisoner serving time for a Cleveland area crime died in a prison cell, but apparently by his own hand.
It was a little over 3 years ago that Mary Jo Pescia was abducted from the parking lot of Parmatown Mall. She was found dead several days later at a West Side Rapid stop. The man convicted of her murder, Mark DeMarco, is now dead, found hanging in a prison cell yesterday. Our Carmen Angelo talked with people at Parmatown Mall yesterday to gauge their feelings on the death of a ruthless convicted killer.
I felt the man had a devil in his eye, and he deserved it. I don't believe in the death penalty or anything like that, but that man was mean.
My first thought was that he got what he deserved, but I really don't think a life for life is necessary.
The Pescio family says they'll address DeMarco's death publicly on Monday.
Defense attorney Stanley Tolliver still convinced, though, that DeMarco was not the killer of Mary Jo Pescio.
I thought this was a woman of virtue, a decent, God-fearing mother, wife, who didn't deserve to die. And I still feel that way. But I also think that the wrong person was convicted.
And Tolliver even wonders if this was a suicide or if DeMarco might have actually been killed in prison. Prosecutors say DeMarco was still cold and calculating in prison. Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Bill Mason says DeMarco made threats from behind prison walls.
Who is a cold-blooded killer from prison, has terrorized people in this county continuously. So with his death, it's our hope, and this office's hope, that the Pescio family can finally put this sad chapter behind them.
The Ohio State Highway Patrol, along with the coroner's office and our department, will conduct an investigation.
DeMarco was serving 94 years to life for the murder of Mary Jo Pescio.
In Elyria, an elderly couple's relationship ended with fatal hammer blows to the head. Then it was dutifully reported to the 911 operator.
What's the problem?
I beat my wife in the head with a hammer.
What happened?
I beat my wife in the head with a hammer.
You beat your wife in the head with a hammer?
Yes.
Is she still alive?
I think she's breathing.
Pardon me?
I think she's breathing.
Team coverage from News Radio WTAM 1100's Mark Schwab.
A bond of $1 million has been set for the man who police say beat and killed his wife with a claw hammer. 69-year-old Cleveland Scott then called 911.
He had indicated that he had struck her with a hammer. He was requesting police and medical assistance.
Elyria Lieutenant Dennis Will. Scott has been charged with aggravated murder.
In November, there was a shocker in rural Wadsworth.
A warrant was issued for the arrest of Stephen Bosick for the murder of his wife, Carol.
Stephen Bosick's frantic November 30th 911 call to police said he found his wife shot to death in their Wadsworth home. Now, Medina County Sheriff Neil Hassinger says Stephen Bosick is the killer.
Many inconsistencies in Stephen's story.
The evidence against Stephen Bosick convinced the Medina County prosecutor to issue a warrant for Bosick's arrest. Sheriff Hassinger says the pieces all fit together.
I personally think it was planned, yes, sir. And that'll be up to the grand jury to determine.
For now, Stephen Bosick has been arraigned in Wadsworth Muni Court for murder. He's in the Medina County Jail under $1 million bond. Greg Saber, News Radio, WTAM 1100.
A few months earlier, another rural community locked up a teenage killer.
Guilty, the verdict for Anthony Harris in the stabbing death of his 5-year-old New Philadelphia neighbor Devin Dunover. The Tuscarawas County chapter of the NAACP says Harris did not commit this crime, and the killer is still on the loose.
Saying that they don't have the killer. And I'm not going to point fingers. At this point in time, I have my thoughts.
Archie Jackson represents the NAACP. Harris will likely be held in juvenile detention for the next 8 years. Tuscarawas County Assistant Prosecutor David Hipp says those who believe Harris is innocent simply do not know the facts.
I understand there are people who don't believe that Anthony did the killing, but a lot of those folks were not there to listen to all the testimony at the trial.
And the girl was found stabbed to death last summer in a field. Harris is facing incarceration until he's 21 years old.
Closer to home on a cold March morning, Penny Chang was walking to school in Shaker Heights when witnesses said a young man shot her down in cold blood. 19-year-old Scott Struthers was quickly arrested. Turned out he'd been stalking the Chang girl, causing all kinds of trouble for the family. Mike Trevisano and Kim Mahalik located Scott's dad, Ken Struthers, who said the system failed to recognize the seriousness of his son's problems.
I tried to do everything in my power to prevent anything like this from happening. I first found out about Scott's problem with the Changs back when he was arrested last October. They had over 200 instances of verified phone harassment, meaning they knew the number he called from and the time and everything else. He had also shot out 4 windows with a hunting slingshot at point-blank range. I mean like 10, 15 feet away. He had tried to burn down their car, and he had also, with the holes he shot in the window, tried to go ahead and set the curtains on fire inside using an improvised flamethrower with a can of flammable shoe polish and a lighter. The police in Shaker Heights caught him less than 3 blocks from the site of this with that can of aerosol and the lighter, and they let him go. They finally brought him up for a couple phone harassment charges, vandalism, and he also tried to sabotage the family car.
Can I presume that you've had a lot of problems with your son and there's just no controlling the situation? Is that true?
Not like that at all. What happened is he had been best friends with the Changs. He had been a roommate of Sean Chang, the older brother of Penny, at Ohio State. They were like best friends. And then over the summer, all of a sudden, things went sour. I don't know 100% what happened because I wasn't there. And, you know, with Penny dead, there's no way now of really verifying anything. And what happened is things went sour. He could not get them out of his mind. He was, like, stuck completely on that subject.
Was he living with you?
At the time of his arrest, he had been staying with me, but what he was doing is he was going over to my ex-wife's who lives a couple blocks from the Changs, and he would stay over there and do all his little terror attacks because he knew I did not approve of that, and I wouldn't tolerate it.
Scott supposedly said to you that he wanted to kill the entire Chang family,
Yes.
and then himself.
Yes. He talked about suicide. He talked about killing just Penny. He talked about killing Penny and the older brother. He talked about killing all of them. I mean, sometimes he would just be babbling.
When you say talked about, he talked to you about that?
Yes.
Were you horrified?
Yes. Why do you think I told every single medical person in his chain of treatment about this?
And there was no response whatsoever?
Right.
None.
Absolutely. But what they did was they said, Mr. Struthers, we understand your concerns, but we don't think there's anything to worry about. We've got it under control.
We're talking with Ken Struthers, the father of Scott Struthers. Scott is the one that allegedly killed Penny Chang.
I hate to say this. There's no doubt in my mind he did it. When I heard that she had been shot and Scott was accused, I wasn't like, oh, no, he didn't. I'm like, oh, God, he did do it. And nobody stopped him. I went to everybody in the system trying to get something done about this, and they didn't do anything.
Where do you think he got the gun, Ken? Do you have any idea?
He got it off the street.
I'm surprised that the police didn't hold him for more when he tried to destroy the garage.
I am too, to be honest with you.
I mean, you can't hold him on anything else.
This is the truth. If they had charged Scott with the aggravated attempted arson when he tried to burn down the house, right now they could be seeking the death penalty against him. This case has been botched at all levels.
You sound like you want your son punished. You want your son to have the death penalty.
I don't want him necessarily to be put to death, but I want his nose rubbed in what he has done and the devastation this has wrought upon the Chang family, upon my family, and upon the entire community. He shot a young teenage girl coming to school in the street in front of the police station. Where the hell is anybody safe if something like that can happen when his own family has been trying to get him help through the system that he was already, by court order, receiving treatment for?
Can you tell us what you said to him when he was telling you he wanted to kill the whole family? Were you trying to talk him out of it? Or?
Yes! I was like, let go of this. Move on. He had 1470 on his high school SATs. He finished second and third in the state science Olympiad finals in cell biology and genetics, respectively. He had an Air Force ROTC scholarship to Ohio State if he wanted it. He could have been going to med school. Instead, he's going up for a pointless murder. He did it. He's guilty. I'm not trying to mitigate what he did at all. I'm just saying he was a walking time bomb with a lit fuse whose own family told all these same people the same thing I did, and they ignored us.
6 months later, Scott Struthers was sent to prison for life. He never did apologize. Despite all these high-profile murder cases, the Cleveland murder rate declined significantly during this last year of the 20th century. But the Sam Shepard case will be carried into the new millennium.
Sam Reese Shepard says he'd love to live life as an ordinary person, but he knows as the son from the notorious case that inspired movies, a TV show, and endless theories, he can't.
There's no running away from an event like this. I will be having my privacy in a very public way.
Shepard will walk from Washington, D.C. to Cleveland, arriving just before the trial to establish whether his father killed his mother was scheduled next month. It's been pushed back to January. But next month, prosecutors will exhume his mother's body for a new DNA sample. And Shepard says he'll be there and hopes to reinter her with the remains of his father and of the fetus she was carrying when she died. Sam Reese Shepard says he walks to escape the injustice he says he suffered as the son of a murder victim and the son of an unfairly accused killer.
To have this adversarial system just turned it into another huge big fight is a sad commentary on our system and how it treats murder victim family members.
Shepard says the delay in the trial only prolongs the pain, but he says he endures it in the hopes of clearing his father's name for good.
Ohio made good on its death penalty laws in 1999. Wilford Berry, who killed his boss in Cleveland, became the first person to be executed in Ohio in over 30 years.
Wilford Berry has died at the state prison at Lucasville. A lethal injection was administered shortly after 9. Among the witnesses to the execution, 5 reporters. Michael Hawthorne of the Cincinnati Enquirer said it was all quite unusual.
It was incredibly surreal, frankly. I mean, when we got there, it happened so quickly. I mean, he was already on his way to dying.
And our Karen Kassler was another one of the media witnesses. Karen tells us that it was a very unusual experience.
36-year-old Wilford Berry was strapped to a gurney when the witnesses and I were brought into the death chamber, needles in both arms. The witness room door was shut, and it was never apparent when the execution actually began. Berry took several deep, labored breaths. His eyes stayed open the whole time, trained on the ceiling. He never once looked at his family or at the witnesses from the family of Charles Mitroff or the media. Several minutes in, the color drained from his face. Then the curtain was drawn. After a few moments of silence, the curtain was reopened, and the warden told us that Barry was dead at 9:31.
Let's go back to Cheryl Lynn now. She's inside the Southern Ohio Corrections Facility. We're getting word corrections people are coming in. Cheryl.
Yes, the witnesses and people from the prison here at Lucasville are filing in right now. They're making their way up to the podium. I must say, looking at some of the witness faces, pretty somber, pretty shaken, and we are expecting now to get an update, a debriefing, if you will. So stations, please stay with us.
Wilford Berry was pronounced dead at 9:31 p.m.
Turning over the microphone to some of the other pool reporters.
I'm Karen Kastler from WTAM Radio in Cleveland. The last name's Kasler.
Can you describe your reactions?
It seemed like we waited an awful long time for something that seemed to take a relatively short time.
Did the request for you to leave or for the media to leave, did it seem hostile?
No, not at all. And I think we were so in tune with what we were trying to report and the story that we wanted to bring to you that it didn't bother any of us at all. It's part of the story.
Coming up, we have news from just about every sports franchise in the area.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. All that glitters is gold. Only shooting stars bring the mode.
1999, the year in review with John Webster continues on the big one. News Radio WTAM 1100.
It was certainly quite a year for Cleveland sports. It started when the NBA lockout was lifted.
The NBA players are coming back, and our Chris Glasser took to the streets to gather reaction.
I would have cared, to see that the season would have started, but now it's just completely, I've lost interest completely.
They aren't getting cheated. They're making $2.6 million. The average American makes $35,000 to $40,000, if that. These kids are 19 years old making millions of dollars. They're not really going to be mature enough to spend it.
Plays expected to begin February 2nd.
Mike Fratello got canned. Wayne Embry retired.
The big announcement live this afternoon right here on the home of the Cavs, News Radio WTAM 1100. First of all, team owner Gordon Gunn said that Mike Fratello has been let go.
As of today, we will be seeking a new head coach.
And general manager Wayne Embry says he's going to step down.
Jim Paxson has been promoted to senior vice president and general manager of the Cavs, commencing July 1st.
Mike Fratello is out as coach of the Cavs. His firing announced yesterday. Are fans surprised?
It was kind of hard with the players he had.
Cleveland needs a new direction towards basketball.
I think Wayne Embry ought to be fired.
And then there was somewhat frightening word. The Indians were being sold.
Indians baseball. News Radio WTAM 1100's in-depth team coverage continues right now.
A shocker at Jacobs Field today. It had nothing to do with the Tribe game last night.
The Indians baseball company announced today that its board of directors has engaged the Goldman Sachs Group and McDonald Investments to identify potential buyers for the franchise.
The Tribe's Bob DiBiasio dropping the bombshell that we told you about first right here on the big one, News Radio WTAM 1100. Fans were stunned. In-depth team coverage from our Greg Saber.
Cleveland attorney Al Salmon is a long, loyal Indians fan. He's trying to sort out the sale news.
As long as he doesn't sell it to the Guns, I'll be happy. I'm a season ticket holder. I'm surprised. But I can understand with his age why he'd want to do it.
Al says another factor, the Indians as a franchise will go for top dollar.
KeyCorp's Ken Malin says if you think about it, this announcement really shouldn't have come as too much of a surprise.
I think they're looking to sell the team when the team is performing well, when financially the firm is performing well, when interest rates are relatively low, so which helps bolster stock price valuation.
Indian stock closed at $16.25 today. Its value soared up 63.5% in just one day.
Dick Jacobs says no matter what happens, the team is not moving. Mayor Mike White says he's sure any new team in the front office will be a good one.
I don't believe Dick Jacobs rebuilt this team and made it one of this country's best. Began 1999 with the best start in its franchise history to turn it over to an idiot.
The sale is not a done deal, but Jacobs says he is listening for offers.
Now may be the appropriate time to seriously consider the sale of the franchise. Sports franchises are attracting premium prices, and we are not forced to sell it anyway.
Jacobs says he thinks if the Redskins were valued at $800 million when they were for sale, the Tribe should command at least that much. Analysts have guessed the sale price is closer to $500 million. Last year, Forbes magazine calculated the Tribe's worth at $322 million, the third richest team in baseball behind the Yankees and the Orioles.
Dick and David Jacobs bought the team, kept it here, turned it into a powerhouse contender. Dick Jacobs selling the Tribe. You heard the announcement live today on WTAM 1100. Manager Mike Hargrove remembers when Jacobs bought the team.
It's been beyond our wildest imaginations, the stability and the of Mr. Jacobs' ownership. I mean, he's been absolutely tremendous, and we will keep going on.
And Andy Appleby of General Sports Entertainment in Michigan says until today, Indian stock was going nowhere.
I think maybe one of the downsides of going public when they did was that I think most people recognized that they were pretty tapped out in terms of their marketing potential.
Indians baseball right now.
They've been to the World Series twice in the past 5 years. They sell out every single game months in advance, and now they can be yours for a few $100 million or so.
I want to assure everyone that it is our intention to find a buyer who is committed to Cleveland and to its tremendous fans. The intentions of any potential new owner are very important to me.
It's inescapable. Thoughts of the nightmare of '95, the Browns leaving Cleveland. But does the announcement by Dick Jacobs that he wants to sell the Indians really endanger the team? Aaron Randall of Cleveland sees it as just business.
I don't know. Well, there's all depend on him. He's a businessman, and if you think that's the best deal, to sell him, sell him.
But Aaron's just one of the fans more than a little surprised by the Indians sale news.
Mayor White was just as surprised as you and me to hear that Indians owner Dick Jacobs was going to sell the team. White says the news makes him nervous, but he believes Dick Jacobs knew what he was doing when he bought the team in the mid-'80s, then turned it around, and he knows what he's doing now.
I have to believe that he is going to be a major part of assuring that the kind of leadership he brought, that the kind of talent he has assembled, that the kind of play on the field and conduct off the field is going to continue.
Dave Nolan of the Greater Cleveland Convention and Visitors Bureau expects the team to stay right here in Cleveland after the lease at Jacobs Field runs out many years from now.
It would be a great shock that there's any discussion concerning even a movement with the basic question. It would be like, why?
If you own Indian stock, by the way, you have seen the value drop in the past year, but in one day, just today, Tribe shares went up in value 63.5%.
And then there was another shocker. Grover was gone.
Cleveland Indians today announced that Mike Hargrove has been relieved of his duties as field manager.
As you heard right here on the big one today, Tribe General Manager John Hart announcing the change on the Indians bench as Mike Hargrove was canned following 8 seasons as Indian skipper. He won 5 straight division titles, 2 American League pennants, but that surely wasn't enough to overcome the collapse at the hands of the Boston Red Sox in this year's playoffs. Hart said the decision to change managers was indeed a difficult one.
This is a difficult decision for all of us here over the past 9 years. It goes without saying the contribution that Mike has made in helping with the rebuilding of this franchise and the success we now enjoy as a consistent postseason contender.
What am I going to do? I want to manage again. I enjoyed my tenure here. I think I was very good at what I did here. I would like to manage again as soon as next year, if that's possible.
And there will likely be a lot of teams knocking at Hargrove's door as he's the second winningest manager in Cleveland Indians history. Grover's 721 wins, just behind Lou Boudreau's 728.
Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes just like anybody else. I'm just like anybody else that carries their lunch to work or carries a pen and paper to work or whatever. I make mistakes too.
Not a lot of fans fans are very thrilled that Hargrove was shown the door.
Several years not getting close but not getting there, that usually spells the end for a manager.
Just because we lost doesn't mean he's got to be out, just like what happened with the Cavs. I don't think that's a fair shake.
I don't think they should have fired him personally because they could get Jesus Christ to coach the Cleveland Indians. They'll never beat the Yankees.
You can't point the finger at any one person. There's 9 guys on the field.
I don't really know enough about his coaching, but I think bad. I think I would have liked to seen him stay.
And, of course, the Browns came back. Oh, nothing too spectacular, but the fans seem happy. We opened our brand spanking new stadium with a spirit that couldn't be dampened even by the craziness of a Ku Klux Klan rally.
Downtown Cleveland looks like a war zone before the fighting starts.
No parking and even no driving in some areas, all to get ready for the Klan rally just 3 hours away. Let's start our live, in-depth team coverage with News Radio WTAM 1100 Sky Chief Rick Abel in our 24-hour newsroom.
Currently in downtown Cleveland between East 9th and West 9th and from Lakeside to Prospect to the city, streets are virtually closed down. Police patrols are constant. Orange signs point out the parking ban. The fluorescent green signs you may see direct KKK supporters one way and KKK protesters in the opposite direction.
Tom Moore is near the rally site to continue our in-depth team coverage.
Final preparations are being made for this Klan rally. Now, right now, the closest I can get to the rally site is Mall B, the garden area next to the convention center. That's because everything is sealed off.
Klansmen who show up will be driven from a secured location to downtown, where they will robe up in the police parking garage underneath the Justice Center and be escorted to the rally.
Cops are on high alert at the Black Family Expo.
This looks really haunting outside the convention center. Not only is it a gloomy morning, but close to where the Black Expo will go on today are stationed many armed Cleveland cops.
There are outlets for anti-Klan activists today. Lori Hovatter, she's at one of them.
If you are trying to steer clear of downtown Cleveland today, you might want to head over here to the Glenville Festival just off of St. Clair.
This is the 11 o'clock report on News Radio WTAM 1100.
The Ku Klux Klan rally is just 2 hours away.
For somebody who did not live in Cleveland during the Huff or Glenville riots, this is something I thought I probably would never see. Cleveland police officers in riot gear marching down Franz Pastorius Boulevard next to Mall B, 2 by 2.
Some 20,000 people are expected for the Black Family Expo there. That expo had been in the planning long before the Klan permit was issued.
A lot of Clevelanders are feeling the frustration that comes with Klan rallies, but there are positive outlets for those feelings.
There are so many opportunities here at the Glenville Festival at East 112th and St. Clair. Robert Tresbakowski of Youth Opportunities Unlimited is here recruiting kids for jobs.
Glenville is probably one of the best spots in the city for finding jobs for kids.
But top of mind for many people in Cleveland is the return of the team that was stolen from us nearly 4 years ago. And it all happens tonight. Team coverage from News Radio WTAM 1100 Sports Director Mike Snyder.
With the backdrop of the first game at the Browns' new stadium, the franchise rookie quarterback Tim Couch will make his first start in the NFL as the Browns take on the Minnesota Vikings.
This is the 1130 report on News Radio WTAM 1100. Demonstrators are gearing up for the rally right now.
About 25 people here on Public Square. This is the Cleveland Anti-Klan Committee. They are going to march down Ontario to the rally site.
Let's try to go now to Darren Toms.
As police left City Hall, they shook hands with their union leader. I caught up with Bob Beck of the Police Patrolmen's Association. Any advice for citizens?
I hope that the citizens of Cleveland, if they have no business here today, the Family Expo or the Browns game, stay home with your families.
This is the 12 noon report on News Radio WTAM 1100.
Tom Moore set up in the media zone between protesters and the Klan.
It's kind of eerie. It's the same music we heard last night when the police were testing out this audio system. Right now I am standing in the middle of the media area, right in the middle of Ontario Avenue out in front of the Justice Center.
Darren Toms.
Riot gear, bulletproof vests, mounted patrols. They're all part of the Cleveland Police Force today. They've had some training for this event.
In-depth team coverage continues with Greg Saber.
The Cleveland Committee Against the Klan has begun their march to the rally site for the Ku Klux Klan. I'm on Public Square where over 50 people have joined this anti-Klan rally.
20,000 people expected to pack the convention center today for the Black Family Expo.
There are options around for those who can't stand the Klan's message but don't want to venture downtown.
Now let's get more from News Radio WTAM 1100's Lori Hovatter.
The Cleveland Heights Unity Group is walking against hate this afternoon.
This is the 1230 report.
It's just a matter of waiting now. The media is here in a holding area right in front of where the Klan is going to be outside the Justice Center.
The numbers of demonstrators against the Klan are growing in the minutes before the rally begins.
The Cleveland Anti-Klan Committee turned the corner from their march to the rally site off East 9th Street on the Lakeside Avenue. They've been confronted by Cleveland Public Service Director Mark Mercudo. He's been imploring them to turn around because they're walking right into the pro-Klan zone, risking arrest.
One Klan rally downtown has sparked a few celebrations of unity around the area. More from our Lori Hovatter.
Peace and unity. That's what they're focusing on at Cleveland Heights High School today as they walk against hate and hold hands in solidarity.
T-0 for the KKK rally.
One of the most telling things about this whole Klan rally situation is the sheer lack of people. There have been urgings for people to stay away from downtown Cleveland, and guess what? It looks like pretty much they have. On the one side, where the Klan sympathizers are supposed to be, there are 4 people. And one of them, from what we understand, she's just there because she wanted to see the rally. It's not because she's there supporting the Klan.
Our Greg Saber is alongside the 100 or so anti-Klan activists.
What looked like a volatile situation here with the anti-Klan forces has apparently been brought under control by the city of Cleveland. Cleveland Public Service Director Mark Mercudo stopped the Klan march going into the Klan rally area. He told them they would be arrested.
Other passionate protesters can make their pleas for peace in other places today at the Glenville Festival, at a Diversity Day celebration in Baldwin Wallace. And
here in Cleveland Heights, people are taking a stand against hate and racism. The Cleveland Heights Unity Group is walking against hate and holding hands to remember victims of hate crimes. Cleveland Heights resident Vivian Vale brought her whole family today.
We're here because we want to be with our community and draw attention to the fact that we all live together and get along, and we like it here.
We're getting breaking news now of a power outage downtown. So we've got the Klan rally going on, and now we've got word of a power outage. This includes the stadium, so power is out there. We've got calls out to the power companies. We'll have more information just as soon as we get it.
This is the 1:30 report on News Radio WTAM 1100.
RC and Karen, it's been constant. The Klan delivering their message from a public address system about 40 feet in front of me, and a couple of hundred protesters to the left of me, about 10 feet to the side of me, trying to constantly shout down what the Klan is saying. And up behind me in a parking garage watching the whole thing, Mayor Mike White, Safety Director Henry Guzman, Police Chief Martin Flask, and numerous city staffers, all trying to make sure that things may get noisy, but they're hoping that things stay peaceful.
Cleveland NAACP President George Forbes leading the contingent of NAACP members wearing black T-shirts that say "Hate Hurts." The NAACP members now entering the St. Clair anti-Klan entry point into the rally.
At least 200 to 300 people are circling Cleveland Heights High School, spreading their message of peace and unity. Resident Bernice Jackson says she's glad to be here instead of downtown because the Klan has nothing to offer her.
This is the 2 o'clock report.
Let's go live to News Radio WTAM 1100's Tom Moore, who's in dead center in the rally zone.
I got to give credit to the demonstrators here. They've been, the Klan has been at it for 45 minutes here outside the Justice Center, and the demonstrators are doing their best to try to continue to shout down the Klan. Various speakers, including a woman who just got up there and really incited the crowd of demonstrators here. They started shouting louder, and people still holding up their middle fingers as their kind of nonverbal communication to the Klan.
They talk about a surrealistic situation here on Public Square. We are within earshot of the Klan rally now going on. I'm standing in front of the old stone church where a wedding has just ended. Michael and Stephanie Casalinas just got married, and this is a wedding they're never going to forget. There are police cars all over the place.
As expected, protesters far outnumber Klan supporters, but I did see several supporters go in. They went through metal detectors, searches, even had their shoes removed. Steve Ritterbush says he just wants to hear the KKK message.
Well, I'm not necessarily a supporter, but I'm here just my first time I'm ever at this kind of a rally. I'm just curious.
Down at the Browns' new playground a few hundred feet from the rally site, it is as if the Klan is a million miles away, counting down to the first Browns home game in nearly 4 years.
Here we go! Here we go, Brownie! Here we go!
Well, we didn't win the game, but we do have a happy ending coming up for you.
1999, the year in review. Once again, John Webster on News Radio WTAM 1100.
There was plenty of good news in Cleveland this last year of the 20th century. They tore down the Coliseum and left us with a beautiful meadow. And Continental Airlines finally made us an international destination when they inaugurated non-stop flights from Hopkins to London.
It's daily, it's non-stop, and it's reality. Continental's Cleveland to London route landed successfully at Gatwick Airport early this morning. Our Chris Glosser made that trip, and he has team coverage from London.
We landed at London's Gatwick Airport shortly after 5 in the morning British time, and despite periods of jarring turbulence across the Atlantic, the pilot made spectacular time, arriving a half hour ahead of schedule. The Boeing 757 flew at speeds of about 635 miles an hour, the route spanning from Cleveland to Newfoundland, across the Atlantic, over Ireland, and on to London. On this inaugural flight were Cleveland Mayor Mike White and City Council Chief Jay Westbrook, both of whom looked and sounded upbeat that Cleveland now has nonstop service to Europe. At Gatwick Airport, Chris Glosser, News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Well, the flight will mean money for Cleveland. Travel writers from Europe will come to Cleveland in July, and tourists should follow.
As tourists come into the city, they're spending money on goods and services. I would hope that they would have an excellent experience, go back to the UK, tell friends and relatives to visit, and so the snowball begins.
Dave Nolan of the Greater Cleveland Convention and Visitors Bureau.
And Lynn Sheldon, a Cleveland television pioneer, came out of retirement to write a book, Barnaby and Me, a fine collection of Cleveland history by a master storyteller. He was happily signing copies the other day at Borders.
With 42 years in television, I sit right here. These ladies came up, and I still say, are they talking about me?
And what a better way to end our year in review as Barnaby ended his TV show for so many years.
Tell him I think that you are the nicest person in this whole world. Just you. Not anybody else, but you.
Thanks, Lynn. You've given so much to the 20th century. And thanks, too, to the News Radio WTAM 1100 news team, especially to Karen Kassler and Mark Schwab. Ray Davis is our executive producer, and Jay Bohannon put it all together. I'm John Webster. Happy New Millennium, Cleveland.